Going to get started with our program this evening. So good evening, everyone. My name is Luis Almonte, and I am the Associate Director of College Counseling at the Berkeley Carroll School, and I'll be serving as a moderator for the evening program tonight. First and foremost, I want to say thank you so much for devoting your time to join us today for the Education Beyond Borders virtual panel, hosted in collaboration with the Berkeley Carroll School, Brooklyn Friends School, Packer Collegiate Institute, and St. Anne's School. We're joined by students and families from all four of our respective schools, and we're really excited to have you in this virtual space as we discuss the opportunity to attend international colleges and universities and learning more about that process. I'd also like to give a very special thank you to our panelists for volunteering to be part of this event. Some of them are stationed in the United States and some of them are not, and it is really late where they live. So we are extremely grateful that they have dedicated their time to be here with us tonight. Our panel tonight consists of representatives from IE University, Goldsmiths University London, Trinity College Dublin, University of Birmingham, University of St. Andrews, and the University of Toronto. We are very excited to learn more about the opportunities at their respective institutions. Our goal today is that wherever you and your family are in preparing for this college search process, you'll come away with a newfound or strengthened understanding of what it means to apply to and possibly attend a college abroad at these particular institutions. So the agenda for tonight, to give you an idea of what to expect, we'll take a few moments for each of the panelists to introduce themselves and get a general overview of their college or university so that you can become more familiar with their respective institution. Afterwards, I'll kick off the conversation by asking a few questions about applying to and attending college abroad. And then finally, we'll open up the virtual floor to give the audience an opportunity to ask any questions before concluding the program. So as you're listening to the presentations and eventually if you have a question, I'm going to ask that you use the Q&A feature, so not the chat feature, the Q&A feature to ask your questions. Myself and my colleagues will be monitoring the Q&A chat, so we'll either be responding to you directly or be posing the question to the entire panel for them to answer it live. So that being said, that is the rundown for tonight. So we'll get started with panel introductions. So I'm going to turn it over to Will Abraham from Goldsmiths University London to introduce himself and tell you about his institution.
Thanks, Louise. I'm just going to share my screen quickly and we will get started. Thank you all for joining us tonight. My name is Will. I am the Senior International Officer at Goldsmiths University of London. I'm based here in New York City, and I'm happy to answer any of their questions by email after the panel tonight. But I'll just start with some fast facts about Goldsmiths. We are a member of the University of London, and we were founded in 1891. Our population is about 10,000 students, a very diverse student body. And we have also committed to a Green New Deal, and we will be carbon neutral by 2025, and hopefully have net zero carbon emissions by 2030. And it's a big initiative right now in the UK in general. So most schools are doing something similar. The student faculty ratio at Goldsmiths is about 13:1, typically very small class sizes. We have no large lecture halls on campus, so the vast majority of your courses will be small lecture, workshop, and seminar style. We also have many influential alumni who have won many different cultural awards throughout the years. And our sports societies and clubs are wide-ranging, something for everyone for sure. Our location in London is about 10 minutes away from the city center by train. We are in Zone 2 for those familiar with the city. And this kind of just gives you a good idea about where we're located in a comparison to some of the major sites of London. You really have the entire city at your doorstep. Our train station is right outside of our main gates. You have a very nice college green, which is behind me on my screen and also in the bottom center of your screen there. Our residence halls are located on and just off campus. While you're on campus, you can enjoy our public museum, our public cinema, where you can catch a movie. Our Students' Union has pool tables, ping pong tables. We have tennis courts and a gym on campus. And nearby, tons of different music venues, art galleries, and coffee shops, great restaurants. It's a really vibrant neighborhood of London. Earning your undergraduate degree in England is slightly different than in the US. We have a 3-year bachelor's degree, and it's a shorter, more focused course with no general education. So you do declare a program at the application process, at the application start. For specialization and research, it's a really good opportunity because you get to study 1 or maybe 2 subjects. And that's a great opportunity to dedicate your time to undergraduate research. It's direct entry to all of our degree programs, specifically like pre-professional programs like law, medicine, dentistry. Those are all direct entry from high school. And we also have a post-study work visa in the UK, which allows you to remain in country for up to 2 years after you graduate, given you have a full-time job within 6 months of graduation. At Goldsmiths, our academics are quite leading in the fields that we have. We are among the top 125 universities in the world for arts and humanities and top 150 for social sciences and psychology. 7 of our 18 subject areas are in the UK's top 30. And we are also 9th in the UK for our research intensity and academic services spend, according to the Complete University Guide this year. So here's an incomplete list of the programs that we offer. They typically range from humanities, social sciences, fine and performing arts, management and business, law, education, and sort of things of that nature, psychology, computer science, etc. The application process is all through UCAS. This is like the common app for the UK. So you can definitely apply through UCAS quite simply. It's a direct application, as I mentioned before. We do have test flexible admissions, so we'll accept various kinds of test scores. And if you are unable to test, we will also evaluate your application if you let us know why you were unable to take a standardized test. The equal consideration deadline for UCAS this year is the 25th of January, and in subsequent years, it's just the last Wednesday in January. That's the recommended date to apply to universities in the UK for all general programs. Other programs have an earlier deadline like medicine, dentistry, etc. And that's a little brief overview of Goldsmiths, and I'll be passing it along to the next panelist. And I look forward to answering some questions for you today.
Awesome. Thank you, Will. Next up, we have Erin Cannon from the University of Toronto.
Hi, everyone. Just give me 1 second while I just share my screen and we can get started. I'm just going to set my timer here just so I stay on time because I like to talk a lot. So hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us all tonight. My name is Erin Cannon, and I am one of the recruitment officers here at the University of Toronto. I get the lovely pleasure of getting to work with students in New York. I am based out of Toronto, but I did have the opportunity to visit most of your schools this fall, and continue to look forward to returning back to New York in the spring for some school visits as well. Before I get started, I always like to say tonight's just really the beginning of our conversation. Definitely want to stay connected. So that QR code there, if you scan that, I'll also have it on at the end, allows you to sign up for some more information and allows you to get all my contact information as well. So we are located in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. So I always say if you're looking for an international experience, which that's why you're all here tonight, we do have that international experience, but not too far away from home. We are your northern neighbors here in Canada. So let's talk a little bit about why U of T, what sets U of T apart, what makes U of T so awesome, why should you choose U of T? So one of the things I always like to talk to students about is our incredible reputation. The University of Toronto is Canada's top research university, and we're the #1 university in Canada as well. So that means that you're not only going to be learning being amongst the best and brightest students, but you're also going to be amongst the best and brightest professors as well. Now, one of the questions I often get asked is, coming to Canada from the US, what can I do with my degree afterwards? Can I stay in Toronto? Can I bring it back to the US? Can I take it elsewhere? And the answer is yes. Not only are we ranked number 18, or not only #1 in Canada, but also number 18th in the world. So that degree is going to be very portable. Our alumni are now working in over 196 different countries, which I think speaks not only to the diversity of our student body, but also to the diversity of the city of Toronto as well. Hopefully some of you have had the chance to come and visit Toronto. If you haven't, definitely put it on your bucket list. It's a big part of being a U of T student. Toronto is one of the world's most livable regions. It's the 4th largest city in North America. It's a little bit smaller than New York, but not by much. So everything you like to do in New York City, you're definitely going to be able to find something similar in Toronto. So The city plays kind of a two-part for our students. The first part, kind of the extracurriculars, so things on evenings and weekends. So whether you like to eat, whether you like to watch sports teams, whether you like to go to the theater, whether you like to check out museums, we have all of that. So it's kind of like a choose your own adventure when you come to the University of Toronto, not only on our campus, but also within the city. And then the second part of Toronto is a world-class city. So it kind of plays into your academics. So we are the second largest financial district in North America. So, you know, if you are looking for international business, getting that experience on our financial district, which is called Bay Street, you're gonna have opportunities there. Any of you are interested in medicine or healthcare, we have 9 world-class hospitals that are literally just down the street from campus. So our students really utilize the city of Toronto, not only for fun, but also for the academic side of things as well. Now, we're made up of 3 different campuses across the Toronto and the Greater Toronto area. So we have our St. George campus. Most of our students who are coming from kind of the New York City area and Brooklyn area tend to gravitate towards our St. George campus. That's our downtown campus, found right in the heart of downtown Toronto, kind of that hustle and bustle of big city living. Scarborough and Mississauga are also great options. They tend to be more suburban campuses. They're about an hour, give or take, in the opposite directions from our St. George campus. And so these tend to be smaller kind of communities close to the big city, but not right in the big city. At the end of the day, you can't go wrong because when you graduate, you're graduating with the exact same University of Toronto degree. It's not going to specify which campus you're graduating from. Now, some of our programs are found across all 3 of our campuses, and some of our programs will only specifically be found at one campus. So depending on what you're interested in studying, that will help you figure out which of the campus or campuses you should be applying to. At the end, I'm going to post a link into the chat. It's our undergraduate admission bulletin, summarizes all of our different programs, which campus that they're offered at, and also has a great summary of everything that we've talked about so far. Now, we have over 700 different program areas. So we take those 700 different program areas and we break them into kind of 5 different learning communities. So arts, business, and science is our largest makeup of program areas, found across all 3 of our campuses. And then engineering, architectural and visual studies, kinesiology, and music are only found specifically at our St. George campus. Wanted to quickly highlight some of our admission requirements. So typically we are looking for students who are graduating from an accredited high school, which all of you are attending. Typically we're looking for a B+ to an A- range or 3.2 out of a 4.0 scale. More competitive programs such as business, engineering, and computer science typically are requiring a higher average. It's just important that you check to make sure that you're enrolled in the right prerequisite subject areas. Again, that undergraduate admission bulletin not only lists all of our programs, but also lists all of the prerequisites for the programs that you're thinking about. We are test optional for this year, and in the coming years, it is still coming out. It should be coming out any week now, but we likely will continue to be test optional going forward. So that's U of T in a really quick nutshell. But if you're looking for an international experience that's not too far away from home, that has an incredible academic reputation, then we may be the right fit for you. And just wanted to leave you with our Discover website that has more information, but I look forward to answering your questions in the panel. So thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Erin. Next, we are going to pass it over to Sarah Dilworth.
Okay, let me just get my slide set up. Okay, so my name is Sarah Dilworth. I am the Mid-Atlantic rep for Trinity. I'm also based here in New York. I think I've visited most of your schools. Yes, all of your schools this fall. So it was nice to see a lot of you in person for the first time in a long time. So Trinity College Dublin, we are located right in the very city center, the heart of Ireland's capital city. Trinity's been around for over 400 years, founded in 1592, so we're Ireland's oldest university. Today, we are a research-intensive university, so what that means is that all of our professors are active researchers in their fields. We have several research institutes on campus across all different disciplines, and there's also opportunities for undergraduates to complete research. All students will do a capstone project their final year of study as well. So at Trinity, we have 4-year programs, so 4-year long programs, and there's no general education or core curriculum. Students go in with their major already declared, and you take classes in and around your major from day 1 freshman year. You can see our most popular courses listed here. So they range across all different disciplines. We have arts, humanities, social sciences, interdisciplinary courses, joint honor courses, which is like a double major, STEM subjects as well. So biological and biomedical sciences, engineering, computer science. There's a lot to choose from. We also have a dual degree program with Columbia University. So this entails students spending their first 2 years at Trinity. It is only a certain number of select majors that are as part of this program currently. So you spend 2 years at Trinity and then years 3 and 4 at Columbia. At the end of your 4 years, you receive 2 bachelor's degrees, 1 from each university. So it's a truly global education experience. You're a fully registered student at both universities for all 4 years. So it's a unique university experience for sure. So we have around 14,000 undergraduate students at Trinity, and 29% of those are international students. So there are a lot of support systems in place for our international students to making that transition to university life, as well as, you know, moving to another country, interacting within another culture, all the logistical things that go along with moving to another country. We have a lot of support on campus for you, kind of every step of the way. Another part of student life would be housing. So our international students are prioritized for housing in either Trinity owned or Trinity recommended properties. Dorms in Ireland are very different than US dorms. So it's basically an apartment, you have your own bedroom and bathroom, and then you share a kitchen and living space with a few other students. So a more independent, much more independent living situation than US universities for sure. And then just to quickly talk about the actual application itself, we have our own application. It's through the Trinity website. As I mentioned, you do choose a course or a major to apply to during your application stage. You can apply to up to 3 different courses. So if you're a little undecided, you can do that, but just be aware that they will be ranked in order of preference. If you are receiving a US high school diploma, we will look at your transcripts. We are test optional for SAT and ACT this year, and moving forward, we haven't made any further decisions, but it's looking like we will continue to be test optional. For IB students, here are some of the requirements that we have there. We look at your predicted grades to make an offer, and you can see that they range. There's quite a range with SAT, ACT, IB points, all of that, because some of our courses are more competitive than others. I'll actually put a link in the chat to our admissions matrix. It's kind of the best indication of what course would you meet the entry requirements for. So it's all listed out, the GPA, the SAT, ACT for everything. We do, let's see, other things about the application. We recommend that students from the US apply by February 1st, and we have a rolling admissions. We do accept applications all the way until June, but we don't recommend that you wait that long because some programs could fill up, and we want to keep you kind of on the same timeline as US universities would. Other than that, it's fairly standard things on our application, personal statement, recommendation letters, those sort of things as well. That's all I have in terms of the application, but I'm excited to answer more of your questions, and I'll put a few links in the chat as well after this. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sarah. Next, we're going to hand it over to Katie.
Okay, sorry, I'll just share my screen. Okay, perfect. Good evening. It's nice to see you all. Hopefully having a good day. It's almost the I'm in the future. It's almost tomorrow here because I'm coming from the UK, but it's lovely to be here with you this evening. So I'm just going to give you a quick overview of the University of Birmingham. We are in the UK. We are actually based in Birmingham, which is the second largest city. So you heard from Will, who was obviously from London, and we are based in the second largest city, which is Birmingham.
Katie, if your screen's not sharing, I don't know if it cast correctly, but just to give you a heads up.
Can you see it now or no?
No.
Okay, let me just come back out and try again.
Now we can see it.
Okay, let me just get up the slide. Okay, I'm just going to keep it like this because I can't seem to get it bigger, but yeah, I'll just go through this for you. So as I mentioned, yeah, we're in Birmingham, a second largest city in the UK. We are a global top 100 university. So in the worldwide ranking, so that's the university rankings, QS, for example. In the UK rankings, we tend to feature in the top 15. And rankings are always a good indication of overall of the university, but we also encourage you to look at things like individual subjects and stuff like that. So whatever you're thinking about studying, it'd be good to look at that as well. I will just touch on in the UK, I think Will mentioned about the 3-year degrees, but you will also generally go into the subject area that you want to study straight away. So you won't be doing sort of general education in the first year of the course. There are a few exceptions to that, but generally you'll be going straight into the subject area. So it's good to look at rankings for your particular subject. We're a pretty old institution as well. So we're founded back in 1900, and you can see our campus here in the background, very large campus, which is actually just outside of Birmingham city centre. We've actually got our own train station. It's called University because we're the only university to have our own train station in the UK, and it takes you from the university to the city centre in about 7 minutes. We are also part of the Russell Group as well, which is a group of research intensive universities. So our academic staff are actively conducting research, and that filters into the modules, and you'll also get an opportunity to get involved in research yourself as part of the degree. We also have very good transport links, so you can fly to Birmingham. We've got lots of connections, direct flights from a lot of places in the US, including New York. And we also have good transport links around the UK. We're right in the centre of England. England's very, very small compared to North America, so it's a very good place to be geographically located to see a bit more of the UK as well. We're quite a big university. We're one of the largest, so we've got about 34,000 students, and about 10,000 of those students are international students like yourselves, so really multicultural community on campus. And we are also very targeted by employers, so that's another good thing. Obviously we want to welcome you to the university, but we also want to send you off at the end with a brilliant job, and so our university students are actively targeted by employers which will come to campus and meet you. We're pretty big in terms of what we offer course-wise. So we have got 5 colleges that we break down our courses into, but we've got over 900 undergraduate programs that we do have. So you can find the full list on our website, which I've put on the slide here. But just to give you an idea, we've got arts and law, engineering and physical sciences, life and environmental sciences, medical and dental sciences, and social sciences as well. Similar application process to the other sort of UK universities that I've already mentioned, so through UCAS, and some early applications for courses such as medicine, which we do have on offer. We do also offer direct entry into things like medicine and law, so again a little bit different to the UK. If you want to come and study those degrees, you don't have to do pre-med, you don't have to do pre-law, you can come straight into those degrees. So that's a little bit different from what you might be used to in the US or some other countries as well. So that's just a little bit for you to know there. But my contact details are here as well, so feel free. I'm the International Officer for the Americas, so feel free to get in touch if you've got other questions after today, and have a look on our social media as well to get a little bit more of a feel for the institution. But yeah, thank you for inviting us, Lewis, as well, and we look forward to taking some questions later. I'll leave it there.
Thank you so much. Next up, we have Giancarlo.
All righty. Let me share my screen real quick. All right. Oh. Cool. All right, everyone see that right? Yep. Okay. Hi, my name is Giancarlo Silva. I represent IE University. I'm actually based out of our office here in New York. So for those of you here, feel free to always reach out. I want to say thank you also to the organizers for putting this on. I think it's really important for students not just only to see other universities, but universities outside of the U.S. as well. Because at the end of the day, the academics are important, yes, but you're going to be living here for the next 3, 4, 5 years. You want to know if this is going to be a good fit for you. So hopefully, IE might be the place for you. Right. So. IE University, we are in Madrid, Spain, and before you ask, no, you don't necessarily need to know Spanish. All of our classes are fully taught in English, and our student body is around 5,500 students, so not too big, not too small, somewhere right in the middle. But I know a lot of other universities say that they're very international, and we'd like to express that we are also very international as well. We have 130 different nationalities that are represented. Yeah, and so why do American students choose IE? Accreditation, rankings, quality of education. We are a 4-year university. We also have dual degree options. Those are going to be 5 years. We'll get into that a little bit more later. A career-focused methodology and opportunities. So from the first semester you'll start at our university, you're going to have classes that are relating to your major. It's very similar to a lot of European universities where you're not going to be filling your time with GEs. So it's really good for the students that are really enthusiastic about what they want to study. They just dive right into it. International experience. Yeah, you're going to be studying in Spain or in Madrid, but employers afterwards are also looking for international experience because they can see all of the things that come with that, that you are a little bit more open-minded, you can work well with others, stuff like that. So yeah, just some stats real quick. We're the #1 university in Spain, #7 in Europe, 25 worldwide. Yeah. Okay, just a couple of reasons why to study. Unique learning environment. You are going to have some lecture sessions. The class ratios are usually like 1 to 25 to 30. So you're not going to be drowning in a lecture hall. But half of your class sessions are going to be hands-on experience. We like to believe that what the information is only as useful as you're able to use it. So you will be applying a lot of what you're going to be learning to a lot of real-world scenarios. Unparalleled international experience. You're in Madrid, and which is like, it's a very easy place to travel from, whether that be around like Europe or even like Africa. Yeah, and then turn your ideas into reality. We like to also say that we are enablers. We like to enable our students to pursue the ideas that they want to pursue, whether that be starting a new club or a new like venture through our venture lab, stuff like that. Yeah. So we have 2 locations, 1 experience. We like to say that we have the best of both worlds for campuses. We have our Tower campus. You can see on your left, it's the one actually in my background. It's all shiny and new. It just opened last year. It's 35 floors. The whole building is ours. And then we also have our more traditional college campus, the one you see on your right. It's in Segovia. It's not in Madrid. It's around 30 minutes north via train. But that one's more storied. It was originally a convent back in 1218. And now we get to call it our home and we preserve it. So yeah. Yeah, just fun facts about Madrid, around 3.3 million people. So a lot smaller than New York, but you'll still get that city feel for sure. And then these are just pictures around our campus. We do have a swimming pool in the tower. Our athletic facilities are there as well. More pictures around Madrid. Segovia. So this is our Segovia campus. As you can see, like it's a mix of like old and new through our preservation efforts. So yeah. Yep, more pictures around Segovia. These are just some of the bachelor's degrees that we do offer. Some of the newer ones are applied mathematics, urban studies, and our environmental science and sustainability. Yeah, some of our more popular programs, were originally known for business. IE stands for Instituto de Empresa, which literally translates to business school. But we've since branched out from there. So our most popular ones would be the Bachelor in Business Administration, Communications Digital Media is really up there, and then as well as International Relations, because it was created in partnership with the United Nations Staff College. Dual degrees, these are 5 years instead of 4 years. You're going to be doing, it's a little bit more intensive, but you do graduate with 2 bachelor's degrees. Yeah. If you want to scan it real quick, I can come back to this later. Professional development. I'll just glance over this. So our athletics are more club-based. There's no NCAA in Europe, so you will be doing it through different club sports. Yep, and then these are more of the student clubs. They range from more professional clubs, let's say your consulting club, marketing club, to more niche clubs, hobby-based clubs like photography club, ski and snowboarding club. There's also even like, it's very European, but there's a wine tasting club. They're not just there to, get drunk. They do learn about the culture. It's very, I would say, European, but yeah. And how do we assist our students before traveling? We do help the students get their Spanish student visa. That's part of the reason why my job here exists, is so all the students that are coming from here, I help them through their student visa process. It is a process, but everyone does make it through it, as well as finding like housing, medical insurance, and other things of the nature. Yeah, admissions process, we are on Common App, and then we also have our own application portal. The only difference between the two is for the Common App, you will have to submit a personal statement. On our application, you will also be required to submit a personal statement, but we like to call it the express yourself portion. The difference between that is that students can choose a different medium. Instead of writing, they can do like a video, or they can do a PowerPoint presentation. Some students are a little bit more eloquent with their words, and some are a little bit more expressive through video. So we like to give the students the option to do that. We don't weigh a video higher than an essay. It's just how you're able to express yourself. Yeah. There are scholarships, and then yeah, this is my information. If you need anything from me, please feel free to reach out. Like I mentioned, I'm based out of New York. We have 3 other offices in the US, Miami, LA, and then our 4th office in North America is in Toronto. We have 30 offices worldwide. It works in 2 parts: to, 1, get students interested, but also parents, if the students do decide to, or if your kids do decide to come back, we do help them like build their networks in that in the city they're either coming back to, or that they decide to move to. Let's say they want to move to Singapore or something. We have an office there, and we help them build their network. But yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And then representing the University of St. Andrews, we have John Wells.
All right, thank you, Luke. And my apologies, I have had some computer challenges this evening, so I just am using a phone and don't have my neat slides to show you. But I want to touch really quickly on a couple of the areas that make St. Andrews unique. Probably the most important thing to understand is St. Andrews probably couldn't be more unlike New York City. We are a university of 10,000 in a town of 20,000. On the North Sea, about an hour and a half outside of Edinburgh. And while Sarah from Trinity College Dublin can probably normally claim to be the oldest, I've got her beat by a couple hundred years. We go back about 600 years now. The reality today is what that means for the study experience is we don't have a campus, we have a town. So university buildings are next to private residents, are next to shops. And St. Andrews is really the kind of place where when you walk 3 blocks, you're going to see 10 people you know. Probably your faculty and administrators as well as your friends, because everybody's part of this small community. And that's a really important part of what it means to study in St. Andrews. The second thing I like to focus on is the academic structure, because there's kind of an assumption often that, oh, the UK all has the same structure. In fact, it doesn't. Scotland has a 4-year, not a 3-year degree. At St. Andrews, you do have to apply and you for a specific major or subject that you're going to be studying. You can apply using UCAS, the British system, or Common App. We take either one. We don't preference one over the other. But you apply for a specific subject. You must take that subject in your first year, but you'll do 2 additional subjects. And if you're in the humanities or social sciences, those will be in the humanities and social sciences. If you're in the sciences, those will be in the sciences. There are some faculties like psychology, economics, and finance that are in both. So you can lean one way or the other, but generally you're going to stay in your own subject area. The neat thing about that structure is that 40% of our graduates will actually earn a degree in something other than what they gained admission to study. So you're allowed to focus in, you do focus in much sooner, it has some of that flexibility to it. No general education requirements, however, is part of that structure. Our student body of 10,000, 8,000 undergraduates, 2,000 graduates, about a third are from Scotland, a third from elsewhere in the UK, and a third are international. So despite being in a very small town, it makes for a really diverse and engaged academic community that you become part of. And in fact, at the undergraduate level, we're almost 20% of our undergraduates are from the US. So you'll find a large community there. That's great for networking when you come back, looking for jobs. There are St. Andrews alumni clubs in every major US city. So you're really part of a network from the very beginning. That's going to be my very brief overview, because I'm sure a lot of you are here to ask questions, and I'm going to hand it back then. And I'll drop my contact details in the chat.
Thank you so much. So thank you again for everybody for the general overviews of your schools. So audience members, I would like to encourage you to use the Q&A feature if you have any questions that you'd like to ask the panel or any of our panelists. But before you all do that, I can kind of get things started. So my question for the panel, in hearing all of your presentations and being familiar with a lot of your institutions, for the program, for a lot of your schools, the way that the programs are set up are 3-year programs, and students have to know what major they want when applying to your school. What advice or what support systems are in place for a student who's interested in your institution, but maybe doesn't have a major in mind yet, or a student that gets there and changes their mind? And ideally is like trying to change their major. Is there any wiggle room for a student to change their mind or to be undecided?
I think, Lewis, I covered for St. Andrews at least that we do have that, although you can't go in as English and decide you're going to become a physics major or the other way around. I usually tell students who want that, only the US system I'm aware of really caters to that kind of interest level, although maybe Canada does a little bit.
Yeah, that's a perfect segue. I didn't have a chance to talk about it in my presentation, but for the most part, our first year, you need to have an idea of what you want, like an arts or science or an engineering. But in your first year, you get to take a whole bunch of different courses, and you don't decide kind of what your specialization or your major is going to be until after first year. So you do have quite a bit of wiggle room in terms of flexibility in that way. I always say to students, so like even within that flexibility, you might come in thinking you want to do one thing, and then you start that program, and then you're in second year and you're like, oh, I don't know if this is what I want to do. We want to make sure that you're happy and that you're enjoying going to class. So if you're ever in a situation, and I'm sure this applies to most universities, is speak with your academic advisor. Our advisors are very helpful and they can help you figure out some options. We're very flexible, but there are some programs that are a little bit more competitive that it's a little harder to transfer into, or they may not accept transfer students later on. But for the most part, at least in Toronto, and I think for the most part, I can speak to Canadian universities as a whole, you pick kind of an area, but in your first year, it's very flexible. So by the end of first year, you have a pretty good idea as to what you want to go into.
I'll just come in from the UK. In general, it's a little bit more difficult to change subject. It will depend on which course you're going for, but because the degree is only 3 years, you are going straight into that subject area. So it can be a little bit more difficult. There are some exceptions. So sometimes you can come in for like general engineering and then decide on the specialization area later. And some universities like us at Birmingham, we've got a liberal arts degree where students can choose a major minor option, but it is a little bit more focused. Most of the UK universities are like that, where you'll go into that subject area and stick with that throughout the degree program.
Perfect. We have a question coming from the audience that says, if the applicant has EU citizenship and passport, how does that affect the application and acceptance, or does it affect the application and acceptance?
If you don't mind, I can do this real quick. So if you are an EU citizen, you're not, your process will be a lot easier. You won't have to apply for a visa. You would have to just apply for a NIE card, NIE. That's just because you're going to be there for longer than, I believe, 3 or 6 months at a time. But it doesn't hurt your application at that you're a EU citizen. But yeah, thank you.
For Irish universities, it depends on, so if you apply, if you've lived in the US, even with dual citizenship or an EU citizen, you're still applying as a non-EU international student because it's based on residency. But if there are some circumstances where you're living here, but you're still, technically tax-paying resident of an EU country, you can apply as an EU citizen. There are different application processes. So, if you have specific questions on that, I can go over that as well. But again, similar to in Spain, you wouldn't have to register with immigration upon arrival to Ireland if you have an EU passport. So you just enter through the EU line.
I'll just briefly chime in to mention that the UK has indeed left the EU. So there is no advantage or disadvantage of being an EU citizen or dual citizen. Though if you are a UK citizen, it is a residence requirement. So typically, if you've been living in the US for longer than 3 years prior to attending university, you are considered an international student and you'd be an international fee paying student. The one little caveat is that if you're an Irish dual citizen or Irish citizen, you actually would not need a visa to come to the UK for school. That's the only EU country that would not require a visa.
We had a question that was asked that said, and John Carlos, I know you answered this, but I think it's good for the audience to hear all of this. But they asked, how do your application timelines work with US early decision timelines? So as most of the schools have been saying that they're on a rolling basis. So basically, once you apply and your application is complete, it gets into the review process and then the decisions will go out in waves. So if a student applies early decision, they can still apply to a lot of other institutions that have rolling decisions. And those wouldn't be binding like an ED decision would be. So it would allow the opportunity for students to know they could hear prior to their decision, after their decision, if they're deferred or denied from their ED school. So there's some wiggle room there in terms of when students are applying for schools that offer rolling admissions versus a deadline-driven ED plan. And then there was another question asking about curriculums. So, across all of our schools, I think that there's a wide variety of classes that we offer in terms of our academic rigor. So, some schools might have IB classes, some schools might have AP classes. For instance, Berkeley Carroll has advanced level courses. So if schools don't have the traditional IB or AP classes, how do your schools review those applicants in terms of their curriculum?
For Trinity, we don't require APs. If you have them, that's fine, but it's not required. We have those, if you're an IB student, if you're receiving a full IB diploma, we review, we look at the predicted grades and make a conditional offer based on that. For regular US high school students, for a regular US high school diploma, I mean, we would be giving a firm offer based on your transcripts and or test scores if you're submitting your test scores.
At the University of Toronto, we expect students to be taking the highest level that their school offers. So if your school does offer AP, we'd be looking to make sure your prerequisites are at the AP, but we understand that not all schools offer AP, not all schools offer IB. So that's why we have you send in your school profile, and usually in your school profile, it kind of identifies that. So we don't necessarily need AP courses unless they're being offered at your school, then we would kind of expect that to be as part of the prerequisite. So hopefully that helps.
Perfect. And just to kind of reiterate to the audience, all of our schools have experience working with students applying to international universities and kind of working with the students one-on-one to see what their requirements are, the grade range that they're looking for, and if there's any type of stipulations that are case by case for each institution, we work with that student to let them know, how they need to navigate that application process for that particular school. But for the most part, to echo what Aaron just said, it's going to be based off of the rigor that's offered by the school and kind of gauging it in perspective, with taking this school that the student attends into perspective. We had a question about, is it cheaper if you're a European citizen, which was answered in the chat, but I think kind of stemming off of that, talking about price and financial aid. So thinking about the cost of attendance, how does that differ from United States tuition? If do you have kind of some sort of measurement? And what type of financial aid resources are available for students that might be needing a bit of assistance to make it a reality to attend the institution?
I can probably give this one a start. I think we'll all have maybe a little bit different answers, but in the case of St. Andrews, I mean, our tuition is around 25,000 pounds a year right now. Here's the reality: that tuition comparatively may be considered reasonably low by US standards, but we don't have 99% of our students receiving aid either, particularly merit-based aid. It's more like 5 to 10% of students receiving aid, and that may be merit-based aid, and that may be in the $5,000 to $10,000 or dollar range. We also do accept FAFSA, and students can use student loans. I think most of our institutions, that's probably the case. But the reality is the price that we list is more likely what you're going to end up paying in our case.
It would be, sorry,
go ahead, Will.
It'd be the same for Goldsmiths. However, our tuition is cheaper. We're usually around the 17 to 19,000 pound range, depending on the course. In the UK, generally, it's not like the US, where there's a standard tuition for all programs. It'll be a variable tuition, generally speaking. So like medicine or like engineering might be a little more expensive with like lab fees and things like that. As opposed to like a humanities or social science course. Generally, most schools in the UK do accept federal loans and offer some sort of undergraduate scholarships that you can apply for that are merit-based typically. And, unlike the US, there's not really a concept of like sports scholarships or things like that. So typically, yes, the sticker price is kind of what you will be paying, but keep in mind it's a 3-year degree, and it is significantly cheaper than going to a private or out-of-state university. And compared to like a SUNY, it's around the same price.
And just for Canadian universities, it does, like Will said, for us too, it varies based on program, anywhere between 35,000 to 50,000, depending on the program. The undergraduate admission bulletin, actually, that I've posted earlier, has a section that breaks it down by program, has the US dollars as well as the Canadian dollar amount. If any of you happen to hold Canadian citizenship, you would be eligible for Canadian tuition fees, which is substantially a lot cheaper. So if any of you do have that dual citizenship. And in terms of financial aid, just also wanted to echo what John had had said, FAFSA is also eligible and is portable, kind of the loan component to Canada as well. And we, in terms of scholarships, all of our students are automatically considered for the majority of our scholarships. There are some exceptions based on merit. And if any of you are thinking about U of T, I always like to plug our Lester B. Pearson scholarship, just because it is our largest full ride scholarship as well. So feel free to reach out to me after, and I'm happy to chat a little bit more about that.
Awesome. Sarah,
Yeah, so for Trinity, our tuition also has a range depending on what program you're choosing. So anywhere from 21,000 euros, which is equal to the dollar right now, to about 27,000. And then we have an estimated cost of living about 15 to 20,000 on top of that. So all in, you can, depending on the program, would be around 35 to 45,000 to do some quick math there. And then we, we accept FAFSA the same way as most of the other universities. And we also offer a few scholarships as well. So they do have to be applied for separately after you would receive an offer of admission.
and to follow up on this question, somebody just asked, when you're saying the tuition and giving that sticker price or that range, does that tuition fee include room and board? If not, what is the range with room and board if you offer housing?
Yeah, I'll just come in here. Yeah, so I think I speak to all of us that tuition fee is just the tuition fee. So that would just be for the course. There's obviously things included in that, but that's literally tuition. And then on top of that, there would be living costs and accommodation. That will vary greatly again throughout the UK and obviously in Canada as well, depending on what they want. A lot of UK accommodation, they can have like a basic room, which will always generally be single bedrooms. We don't have as many shared bedrooms in the UK, but they can choose to have an ensuite facility, which will take the cost a little bit higher. In Birmingham, and I would say probably similar in some of the other ones, maybe a little bit more expensive in London, probably somewhere between 5,000 to 7,000 for accommodation. But that would literally be the room, and then on top of that they've got obviously bills and stuff like that. Anything food related, we probably estimate about £12,000 per year for living costs, but it will really depend on lifestyle as well, and which cities they're sort of based in, but that's just a general average.
All right, so at IE, it's a little bit more simple. All of our undergraduate programs, all the 4-year single degree programs are 25,000 euros. So right now it's equal to the dollar, so it's $25,000. All of the dual degree programs, so those are going to be 5 years, those are 30,000 euros. Cost of living in Madrid or even in Segovia is I would say a lot less than maybe some of the other cities. You can look at around 4,000 to maybe like around 10,000. Again, that's just like lifestyle choice. If you wanted your own apartment, if you wanted roommates, but that would include like, so that's your room, and then like food, bills, money for activities, I guess. But yeah.
Our next question is asking about accessibility to professors outside of the classroom. What does that look like? And is it something that's, I would say often happens, and do they work in collaboration with each other? Is there a lot of mentorship between professors and students outside of the classroom at your respective institutions?
If I could start real quick. So I'm actually an alumni also of IE. And in my experience, the professors are always available. I've had times where me and my classmates are working on a group project, or we're working on an assignment on the weekend and we're stuck. We email the professor and they would say literally, all right, I'll send you the Zoom link in an hour or like in 10 minutes. And he's on the Zoom for an hour on a Saturday afternoon. He could literally be doing something else better, but they want you to succeed. They want you to understand what they are teaching you. So yeah, very, very accessible. I think there's a second part of the question. Do you mind, Louis, if I answer it real quick?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. It talks about the school's most popular main events and our traditions. We host a TEDx every year. We also have like stuff like Venture Day, but my favorite was the Global Village Day. Since we are so international, again, 75% of our students are coming from abroad. Global Village Day, there's different clubs that represent all the different nationalities. We get them all together for a day, and each of them have a different booth. They would like do stuff that represents their culture, but my favorite part is that they would bring their food. I'm really into food, so they would bring, I could have like Lebanese food, walk 5 feet, and I can have Japanese food, walk another 5 feet, and I can have like food from South Africa. But yeah, it's fantastic.
What was the first question? Sorry, I'm now gone down the traditions and events. I forgot what the first question was.
The first question was talking about relationships between students and professors. How does that look like, and are they accessible?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this is one of the things I wish I had utilized more when I was a student. So I always like when I give my piece of advice is like our professors are passionate about what they're studying, but they want you to be passionate about what you're studying as well. So you know, all of our professors hold office hours, so they're easily accessible after class. You can go in, stop in if you want to go over something that you talked about in class, but they're also there. They're very well connected. So, you know, if you want to go on to law school, or, you know, you want to do a PhD down the road, like go and speak with them. They're very well networked. They love talking about their experiences, and they want to help set you up for success as well. So all of our professors are very passionate. And if there's somebody that you connect well with, you know, there's lots of opportunities. We're a very research intensive university. So not only do you get to learn from them, but you also have the opportunity to work alongside them as well. And so you can do that as early as second year. And the university I went to, you can do that until fourth year. So I think that really speaks to U of T wants students at the table in collaboration with our faculty members as well. So yes, please go and speak with your professors. They are real people just like you and I, and they want the best for you. So hopefully that helps.
Yeah, I'll just come in from Birmingham's point of view, but yeah, very easy to engage with the lecturers. You'll have a sort of a setup in terms of lectures and seminars. So lectures are large, where you might have up to 300, if not even more, students. So that's a little bit less on the engagement size, but those are complemented with seminars. And especially as you go throughout your degree, those tend to get smaller as well, as you focus on the subject areas you're more interested in. And there's a lot of two-way conversation there. And a bit like Erin was saying, these lecturers are really passionate about their subject area. So they're all so keen if they've got a student that's really interested in that as well. And I think Erin also mentioned as well about office hours, and we also have that in the UK as well, where the lecturer will advertise office hours where they'll be available either for you to drop in and have a conversation with them, or maybe have a Zoom chat. We have upped a lot of the contact points as well, especially post-COVID. During that time, we were trying to get our students to engage a bit more with lectures, because they're obviously a bit more isolated, but we've maintained that as well to make sure they've still got that face-to-face contact as much as they can. And especially at research intensive universities as well, there's that opportunity for you to work closely with them on projects, especially in your final year. You might do a research project with them. So again, it's an area of your interest. You'll be able to actually start working on something really dedicated on a particular subject area under that professor. So you'll be starting to work closely with them as well.
Perfect. And then the second part of this question, Giancarlo started answering, but what are really popular events or traditions at your institutions?
I'm happy to talk a little bit about that. Given the history of St. Andrews, probably the most famous one of ours is Raisin Weekend. And actually it fits into a tradition we call academic families. All of the students are third year students are considered parents, and they adopt first years. So you become part of a family of 15 or 16 students. Academic families are like families. Some have 2 moms, some have 2 dads. Some may have 2 of each. I was over in August, and a student told me, yeah, I've got a mom and a dad, but I've got an absentee dad. He never shows up for anything. So they're almost like real families. The families then will organize our big fall weekend, Raisin Weekend, and students do skits and scavenger hunts and dress up all around town. And if you look it up on YouTube, you can see it. It all ends with a giant foam fight on one of the quads on a Monday morning. So a lot of these traditions, St. Andrews, come about because of 600 years of history. But the neat thing about academic families is They really are a wonderful resource for students to go to their parents or elder siblings, ask questions. And believe it or not, if alumni come back to town, they're considered grandparents, and they will look for their academic families still.
For Trinity, we have, in terms of events, the biggest event on campus each year is Trinity Ball. It is Europe's largest private party. So campus basically shuts down. There's several stages that are set up, and it's kind of like a big music festival where students are in black tie and ball gowns. So it is, it's quite a unique sight to see. But it's definitely, you know, super memorable and yeah, quite the event on campus every spring.
I think one of the traditions, two of the traditions that I really like, and I think our students really enjoy, is if you belong to a member, or if you're a member of arts, business, or science at our St. George campus, you're going to belong to a college, which is kind of like a smaller community because our faculty of arts and science is so big. And so one of the colleges, Trinity College, their tradition is every Wednesday, they wear black robes, they go in, they eat dinner together with faculty, as well as first year students and upper year students. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Hogwarts. It looks a little bit like Hogwarts, so that's a big tradition there. And then another tradition that all of our students, regardless of which campus, is graduation's a big thing. You graduate from Convocation Hall. It was built in 1907, and we've been graduating students ever since then. We've been around since 1827, but the building that itself, so it's a big tradition for students to be able to graduate. It's an absolutely stunning building, and I think it really speaks to the history of U of T, but lots of great traditions. We've been around for a long time, and so there's definitely lots to explore and discover.
I think at Birmingham, one of the really interesting things is we have a sort of mini Glastonbury festival at our campus in the summer. So it's on our student village. It's called the Vale, so we call it Vale Fest. And students love that because they've just finished their exams, so they get to have some time outside and enjoy some music. And it's usually the clubs and societies within the university, so the musical clubs and societies, so they get to see their friends sort of performing. And other than that as well, we're very multicultural at the university, so we celebrate sort of all the different religious festivals throughout the year, and students are very keen to get involved in those as well. So one example is we actually have a community iftar on campus during Ramadan, and it's not just for practicing Muslims, but anyone that wants to get involved. And actually this year we held it outside under the stars, so it's absolutely lovely, and everyone from the local area, the community, students get involved. And similarly, you know, we all celebrate Christmas, and students get involved in that. Thanksgiving, we have events for that as well. So, you know, throughout the year, there's lots of different religious festivals and cultural festivals that we celebrate as well.
I'll keep it really brief. But the biggest thing that we have on campus, probably, or one of the biggest, is Pure Gold, which is our music department's music festival. It's a public festival. We have the largest music department of any comprehensive university in the UK, so like not a music conservatory. And so this draws from all of our music students across the whole college, and it's at venues across London over the course of like 2 weeks. So it's a massive festival that kind of promotes student music, and it's a really good way for students to either showcase their sound or kind of get involved in London music. So it's a really good way to support music students.
Perfect. The next question we have is, what are your academic calendars, and do you offer summer courses and or summer internships?
So Trinity's is fairly similar. We have a 2-semester system starting in mid-September, going to mid-December, and then coming back late January to the end of April. We don't have summer classes or anything on campus for credit in the summer. So sometimes students will decide to stay in Ireland and work, or internships, which internships in Ireland are paid. So it is a job that you get paid for. So that's a huge advantage. Or there's sometimes, like, you know, short-term study abroad opportunities, that sort of thing that students would choose to do in the summer.
In terms of our academic calendar, it's always hard to, we have over 700 programs, but I always say to students, if you Google like biology U of T, it will bring you to the website and it will show you our academic calendar. You can see all of the classes you're taking from first year to fourth year. And that also coming back to what we were talking about at the beginning, if you're trying to figure out, you're not sure what kind of program you're wanting to, I always direct students to the academic calendar, and that gives you a good idea as to kind of the courses that you'll be taking. And so that might help you figure out which of the programs you might be thinking of down the road. In terms of summer courses for the most part are optional for our students. We do offer summer courses, but a lot of times our students will go home for the summer, or they'll work, or they'll find an internship, things like that in the summer. But we do offer summer courses across all 3 of our campuses.
Summer courses generally aren't really offered. We do have summer courses, but they're more for non-degree seeking students. So summer courses are not really expected. There is ample opportunity for internships either during the school year or in the summer. You can even go abroad and do an internship for the summer for 2 or 3 months, or go learn a language somewhere. That's pretty common for students to do, especially because in the UK, a lot of programs are quite rigid. You have 3 years. So sometimes a summer opportunity is easier depending on what you're studying. And was there another part of that question I missed?
It was just asking about summer courses and summer internships.
Okay.
Right. So I works on a semester system, very similar to Trinity. Start mid-September and mid-December. Start January and May. We're in Spain. You do not get a Thanksgiving break, unfortunately. You do get spring break or Semana Santa. Spain has a lot of holidays, so you'll have a lot of 3-day weekends. In terms of summer internships or summer classes, unfortunately, we do not do summer classes, but there are plenty of opportunities for internships, whether that be within the university. The ones that are within the university are usually aimed towards 1st and 2nd year students who are not quite ready to go into the real world. They're just like, dipping their toes in. These internships are guided through our professors, because many of our professors are working professionals. And then our talents and careers department helps students find internships, whether that be over the summer or for a semester, even internationally, whether that be in their 3rd or 4th year.
Yeah, at Birmingham, we starting around September, so that's the start of our academic year. Generally the same in most UK universities. We'll have 3 semesters usually. So first semester runs till about December, when a break for Christmas, and then come back in January through to March, then come back in around April time and finish up in June. We don't really have summer programs at the university, but a bit like Goldsmiths, we have a lot of opportunities for summer schools abroad with partner universities. So I know a lot of our students have gone off to South Korea and Japan and done an exchange there just to get some extra cultural experience of another country. Lots and lots of opportunity for internships. You can just work part-time anyway in the UK in the summer holidays. So if you just want to get a little bit extra money, that's an option. Or you could do a dedicated internship, which is something related to your degree program, and that's always good to get an idea about the kind of career you might want to go in afterwards. And even if you don't like the internship, at least you've got something out of it to see, make a decision of what you do like and what you don't like, and it can also help you with your future career planning. If you're thinking about going off to a different, if you maybe want to go into a law degree later or business, you can get a little bit of experience of different areas as well.
Okay. And then our last question for the evening is, how safe or friendly are your campuses for the LGBTQ+ community and BIPOC students, minority religions, etc.? So, thinking about diversity and diverse students with underrepresented populations joining your communities, how safe or friendly, or what resources are in place for those students?
I can kick it off. So at Goldsmiths, we are really diverse campus. About 55% of our students are students of color. Over 20% are LGBTQ+ identifying. We have 25% of our students have a declared disability. So for students who do want to either get involved in the communities they're part of, we have international affinity networks through our students' unions. You can actually, well, I guess a students' union in the UK is like a true union, so you can really affect change in the university by being part of the students' union. So certain affinity groups for like women, trans, non-binary students, for gay, lesbian, bisexual, and minority students, and I feel like I'm missing one, international students. So you can join these affinity networks and actually affect change for these communities at the university. In addition to that, like disability services are really widespread in the UK. It's important that you either note it on your application or reach out to the university ahead of time. We're happy to work on reasonable adjustments with certain technology or I don't know, accommodations that you might need for test taking or for writing papers, things like that. We actually create personalized plans for each student. So you'll actually meet with someone from our disability office either over the summer or when you arrive in London, and we have a special plan for you to make sure that you're succeeding in your studies. Additionally, London is an amazingly diverse place. Nearly 40% of the city is foreign born. It's a great place to be an international student. You're in very good company. It's a magnet for immigration. So it's a really fantastic place to kind of land if you're an international student.
I think I've probably got the only small town here that I'm representing, and that St. Andrews is only about 20,000 people. But because everything in town basically revolves around the university and student life there, it's a very welcoming community to students with diverse backgrounds, LGBTQ, different religions, different ethnicities, different races. You see all of that in this tiny little town, all of the student organizations. And I think you're going to find that from all of our universities, that the student clubs and associations, the university itself and their own support networks are there. So I think it is a very welcoming community, despite I think some people think sometimes small towns, not nearly as much so, but because of the unique nature of St. Andrews, that's not the case at all. It's very welcoming.
I think that's one of the greatest strengths that Toronto and U of T has, is we are a large community, but we are filled with diversity, whether that's related to LGBTQ plus communities, whether that's religion, race. We are so diverse in so many different ways. So in terms of LGBTQ plus, a lot of students, or a lot of the panelists had already talked about student clubs. We definitely have a lot of student clubs that focus not only on LGBTQ plus and being equitable that way, but we also have you know, a wide range of different cultural clubs as well. In terms of residents, we do have gender inclusive floors as well that we have. We also have the largest, one of the world's largest pride parades in Toronto. So Toronto itself, not only the campus, but the city that you're going to be living in is a very diverse city. You're definitely going to meet people who are similar to you, but you're also going to meet people who are very different from you as well. I'm just going to pop a link into the chat as well that talks a little bit more about some of our different communities that we have in different clubs as well, that I think will be helpful just to kind of give you a glimpse into the different support systems we have in place for our students. But I think diversity is a big part of who we are at U of T, and it's something that we're very proud of.
Dublin is an increasingly multicultural city, and Ireland itself, you know, a lot of people have kind of a stereotypical view of it, but it's a rather progressive country, especially compared to the US these days. So there's definitely, you know, LGBTQ friendly within the country, on campus. Like the other universities have mentioned, there's several different clubs and societies, whether it revolves around cultural or language-based societies, different religious societies that are on campus as well. So definitely lots of space for many different communities on campus.
Great. Oh, no, go ahead.
Okay, yeah, I'll just go in quick. Yeah, just very similar to the rest of universities. We're very, very diverse too, very multicultural city. But I'll just say, and I'm sure it's the same at a lot of other universities as well, it's not only our student body, but it's also our lecturers and our academic staff that are also very multicultural as well. So I think at Birmingham, we've got about 40%, almost 50% of our staff are actually from outside of the UK. And that's because as a university, we really think that international staff and students enrich our culture. And so, you know, we're very inclusive, and that's just, I suppose, a slightly different view from the others, but that's another thing that we have that that we hope that international students get a lot out of when they come to us. And as I mentioned before as well, all the different cultural events that we celebrate at the university, and those are very inclusive as well. So they're not just for people from that particular religious denomination, but we want people to get involved and celebrate diversity itself as well. And Birmingham, again, is a particularly well-known city for LGBTQ. We have a large Pride celebration every year. It's one of the most popular ones in the UK, along with the London and Brighton and stuff like that as well. So that's something a lot of our students get involved in as well.
Right. Yeah. I guess echoing a lot of what my colleagues have said, how being international or being very diverse is very important to us. And we understand that everyone has to be able to find a community, since everyone is coming from everywhere, whether that be their ethnic background, their religious background, how they identify. But yeah, so whether that be through different clubs, through different activities, also very important is our health and well-being center. Of course, the physical health is very important, but also your mental health is very important to us. We want to be able to give the students a very safe space to, you know, express who they are, talk to someone if they need to, if they do run into issues like that. Again, anecdotally, when I was a student at IE, I never really ran into any sort of like discrimination, even within, even outside of the university, since I am a minority. But yeah, thank you.
Perfect. So that brings us to the conclusion of our program. For all of you that are in attendance, I want to say thank you so much for coming to learn about these wonderful institutions, and learning about what it might be like to apply or attend an institution abroad. I want to say on behalf of, you know, the Berkeley Carroll School, Brooklyn Friends School, Packer Collegiate Institute, and the St. Anne School, we want to say thank you so much to our panelists for coming tonight and dedicating their time and their knowledge and expertise to our school communities. You're a wealth of resources and knowledge, and we greatly appreciate you taking the time to be with us today and be in community with us. So on that note, I want to say thank you so much, and I hope that all of you have a wonderful night.